But today I'm going to go into more detail. And Brother Ahmed from our own community asks, and he came to me personally. So this is a question I'm not doing from email, it's from our own community. He says that of late, more and more Muslim families are beginning to acquire dogs as pets. And they say that it is allowed in some schools of law. So is this true, and is there any concession? And he says that how do we answer when our children say, why would the Sharia prohibit owning a cute little puppy? Okay, so what do we say to our children in this regard? So no doubt this is a very interesting question. It has been discussed in our books since the beginning of scholarship. And it also shows us the differences of cultures, because I speak for most of us above the age of, I think, 30, 35, where we are accustomed to culturally look down upon dogs. I have never in my life wanted to touch a dog. I have never wanted to pet a dog. Every time I see a dog, I turn around and go the other way. I have no desire to interact with dogs. And I think most of us from that generation and older are of the same way, even though I was born here, but still, I'm kind of sort of caught the old vibe, if you like. But our own children are saying they're the cutest creatures. I don't think they're cute, but our kids do. Our children are saying, why can't we have puppies? Why can't we have dogs, right? It's a cultural difference that we need to take into consideration. Now, there's no doubt that culture sometimes plays a role. There is one of the maxims of fiqh al-urf muhakkam, that urf or culture plays a role. But culture only plays a role where the Sharia is silent. When the Sharia has explicit matters, then culture is put aside, right? So the Sharia, obviously the Qur'an and Sunnah, where it is explicit, then we do not. So, sometimes, culturally speaking, certain cultures might think certain animals to be beautiful, other animals to be ugly. That's not a problem, no problem. But if the Sharia comes and says certain animal is haram, certain animal is najas, that changes the entire paradigm. So, does the Sharia say explicitly these types of issues, and what is this controversy? Okay, nothing to do. Now, as you know, my position about the madhab is it's best to follow your own madhab. Otherwise, if we open this door, it gets very, confusing, or you follow the shaykh whom you trust in this regard. The second issue becomes, what is the fiqh or the fatwa of owning a dog? Because it's one thing about najas, it's another thing about owning a dog. When it comes to owning a dog, there are two ahadith that are used to discuss this issue. The first of them is whoever takes a dog, and except for one of three, shall diminish the good deeds of his day, the amount of a qirat. What is a qirat? It's like a large quantity. Whoever takes a dog, except if it is a dog of agriculture, or a dog of hunting, or a dog of protection, shall have his good deeds diminished by a certain amount every day. So this is the first hadith, that if you take a dog without one of these three reasons, if you own a dog, if you possess a dog, then your good deeds of the day will be diminished. However many you've done, you're not going to get the full amount. There's going to be a deduction, okay? There's going to be a penalty, a tax for owning that dog. The second hadith in Sahih Muslim, that the Prophet ﷺ was waiting for Jibreel to come. One day he didn't come, and he became perturbed. Why didn't Jibreel come? He went outside and Jibreel was waiting for him outside. He said, "Why? You said you were going to come. Why didn't you come?" Jibreel said, "There is a dog in your house. And we do not enter houses that have dogs in them." And the Prophet came in and they found a puppy under the bed. So they got rid of, they put that outside. And so this shows us that, according to this, angels do not enter the house where there is a dog. Okay, so these are the two ahadith that are used. Now, from this, a number of things. First and foremost, by unanimous consensus, even the scholars that say it is najas, they allowed these three types of dogs. Okay, meaning the dog that is used for a purpose that is maslaha, clearly beneficial. Okay, you need a dog to control the perimeters, make sure you ward off any types of beasts from your land. Okay, you need a dog for hunting. You need a dog to protect your house, a guard dog. Even the Shafi'is, Hanafis, the Qur'an allows it. Nobody can deny it. The Qur'an allows mukallibin. By the way, a hunting dog can also be for pleasure. Doesn't mean you're dying if you don't hunt, right? Most people who have hunting dogs might do it for pleasure. And Allah Azza wa Jal allows hunting dogs. Think about this point here, okay? So they said that if you're doing it for these reasons, none of the scholars said you have to be dying of hunger, then you're allowed to own a hunting dog. That's ridiculous. It takes years to train a dog. Generally speaking, the people who do this are already upper middle class anyway, okay? Or there are people living in the Badia and they take years to train the dog. Point being, by unanimous consensus pretty much, it is allowed to own a dog that is benefiting your land or acquiring food for you. So that much is allowed. What then do we do about other than these three? The vast majority of scholars said that anything that is reasonable, qiyas upon these three, should also be allowed. Imam al-Nawawi said, scholars have differed, can we move beyond this three? And the correct opinion is, if there is a need or not a need, maslaha, it's not a need. If there is a benefit to having a dog that is other than these three, then we make qiyas that there's some benefit coming back to you, that benefit is not a darura, it is a haja. Haja means it makes life easier. Okay, darura means you cannot live without it. Haja means it makes life easier. So Imam al-Nawawi said any dog that is needed for a haja, it is allowed. And Nawawi is Shafi'i, and Shafi'is were the strictest when it comes to dogs. Still they said any dog that is for a haja. And this is pretty much all of the other madhahib as well. So from this we can extrapolate that without a question, without a doubt, a seeing dog is halal to have. A dog that is used by, these days we're discovering there are those that are mentally or emotionally impaired, and having sometimes an animal, it makes them normal, mentally more balanced. It brings about certain, they feel more stable or whatnot. Some people, they panic. And when they have their dog with them, and I met somebody like this, I had no idea, I had no clue. A few years ago, I met one of our converts, and he had PTSD from battle. He had converted and whatnot. Long story, and he had a dog with him, and it was a special dog marked, and he could see normally. I'm like, what is this dog for? So he said, it's my emotional comfort dog. I'm like, what's that? And he explained to me that because of PTSD, sometimes I hyperventilate, sometimes I panic. Sometimes he loses control, and the dog senses the panic, and the dog comforts the owner. SubhanAllah, I had no idea of this, So therapeutic type of dog. Yeah, so without a doubt, this is a haja, without a doubt, right? That if you're allowed to have a dog to go hunting, luxury items like, rabbits or something like this nature, clearly you can have a dog when you're hyperventilating or emotionally or whatnot. That there are people that are mentally, emotionally, they need, these types of creatures that brings about comfort. This must be completely permissible as well. Now, generally speaking, the default of the Hanafi, Shafi'i, and Hanbali schools is that a dog is only allowed for haja. Haja means, as I said, something you need it, but not life and death need. It's something that you can sense is going to bring a lot of ease to your life. In the Maliki school, once again, they were a little bit more open in this regard. And they lowered the bar more than the other schools. And of their great giants is Ibn Abdul Barr. Ibn Abdul Barr writes in his Tamheed that when he mentions this hadith about the three, he goes that this implies that it is allowed to own a dog لِلْمَنَافِعِ كُلِّهَا, for all types of benefits. Whatever is going to be of benefit, you may then own the dog, if a person wishes to do so. And that if there is no benefit, then it is makruh according to them, not haram. Makruh to own the dog.